Thank you for everyone being here today. We have, or I guess I'll just go ahead and read it, Justin. This meeting is being held pursuant to KRS 61.826 and Council Rule 5A. This is the Louisville Metro Parks and Sustainability Committee. We have in the chambers today Council Member J.P. Leninger, Councilwoman Marilyn Parker, Councilwoman Crystal Bast, and Councilwoman Josie Raymond. And then we have online, nobody. We have, so we have Street Leaf online. Guys from Street Leaf, if it's okay, can we go through legislation first and then come back to the presentation, if that's okay with you all? I got thumbs up, so sounds good. All right, I would like to ask, we have Resolution 015-25, a resolution pursuant to the capital and operating budget ordinance approving the appropriation of the funds following non-competitive negotiated professional service contract for Metro Parks concerning consulting services for Parks for All and reporting pro consulting in the amount of $118,000. Do we have anybody to speak to this today?
Motion.
Motion and second is approved. And we have Director Michelle King here to speak to this. And before she speaks, I want to remind the members of the committee that critiquing the Parks for All is not on the agenda today. Please ask questions only as it pertains to approving this sole source contract. Does everybody understand? Thank you.
I'm Michelle King, Executive Director of Louisville Parks and Recreation. The Parks for All plan that is the basis for the contract at hand today was initiated in 2021 by the Parks Alliance of Louisville with funding from Metro Council, Parks Alliance fundraising efforts, and donations from PNC Foundation and Matt Construction. Over the next year, the project was undertaken by a consulting team comprised of Jane Miller Consulting, Pros Consulting, and Interface Studio. Jane is now a principal at Pros Consulting and is the primary consultant for the contract at hand, and I see that Jane has joined us virtually as well. The plan was unanimously endorsed by Metro Council in 2022 and is strongly supported by Mayor Greenberg. The work plan at hand today for the contract in question contemplates some focused tasks on areas of the Parks for All plan that are timely, would benefit from support from a specialized contractor with best practice knowledge from across the nation, and can move efforts forward more quickly than our in-house resources alone. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the committee.
I'll take the first question if that's okay. We don't have anybody in the queue yet. Why does the pro consulting justify that the sole source contract for the implementation could they not have just handed off the work to another consultant? This seems like it would be common practice.
There was a year-plus long effort that was undertaken by these consultants to gather information that is specific to our Parks and Recreation Department, our facilities, and our community. There is an exhaustive amount of data that was included in that plan, and in fact part of this contract will be to work with them to bring that data and the analysis tools that were used in that data in-house. So this particular consulting firm has specialized knowledge that would actually take up more contracting dollars for another consultant to get up to speed with than them just hitting the ground running, picking up things where they left off.
I want to call on Councilwoman Parker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so Pros Consulting, they've already done a lot of work, budgeting, data collection, and all that. Did we already allocate money for the consultants for that work, or is this a reimbursement for that?
The original contract was initiated by the Parks Alliance of Louisville. They had funding from Metro Council that did pay for that, but it was actually through that external entity. So they were not a contractor with us directly, but that entire contract has been paid for in full. This is a next step based on the work that was done then. So this is new work, and will be new work product deliverables.
Okay, and do you know how much we spent on the pass-through money?
I believe the pass-through was 200,000.
Okay,
And I think another
then-
300,000 came from Parks Alliance sources.
And so this 118,000 is going to do what? What are you going to finish with it?
This will pick up that work in some really targeted places. It's by no means comprehensive to the entire plan. The plan is an exhaustive one that covers a lot of different areas of operations, budgeting, strategies, programming. But what we've done is pull out some specific deliverables that we think will address some questions that are immediate at hand, and give us some resources to move some big projects forward. For example, within the work plan, which I believe is attached and probably very small and hard to read in your materials for today, an example is creating a sponsorship program for parks and recreation facilities. That's an opportunity to create a revenue-generating program, and that's everything from large park asset sponsorships down to program sponsorships, a robust adopt-a-park program, improvement, those kinds of things. We've started that work, but we think that we will benefit from using some of this contract money to expand the scope of our benchmarking to peer cities across the board, as well as benchmarking within our local market to find out what those sponsorship opportunities, what kind of value they really bring, and to be able to do that in a really cohesive and consistent way.
Okay, so this won't be necessarily for anything capital, but it will be,
Correct.
what I'm hearing you say, it's for programming to help revenue.
That's one example.
producing-
We're really using this, we're squeezing everything we can out of this
Okay.
funding.
And then will you be coming back to us after this for more money for something else?
We would definitely have budget requests, but I think that those will come, that won't come through a Parks for All specific contract. That is part of the work that we do as a department. So this is a specific pot of money that has been, there was money originally allocated towards this project that was to be carried forward. That language in the budget ordinance carried forward again to complete the spend under that Parks for All implementation plan. So we have that 100,000, and we're going to add another 18,000 to round out this work plan to get these deliverables in hand with that. And we wanted to target some things that we really thought we would benefit from the pros consulting expertise in particular. So that's the pieces, parts that make up the work plan at hand.
Okay,
And we will have deliverables to come back with.
thank you.
I failed to mention, we have also in attendance with us our Vice Chair, Councilwoman Betsy Rui, and she is in the queue for the next question.
Thank you very much. So first of all, I am happy to see the Parks for All plan continue to move forward. And so it gave us a destination. And now what you're doing here is developing a roadmap to get us there. Would that be a fair description of it?
For some discrete parts of that plan, yes.
Yes. And I know it will be a very big challenge to raise taxes, so I'm glad to see that we're going to be looking at other avenues such as sponsorship for different things,
Absolutely.
especially when it comes to doing infrastructure fixes. That will make a big difference. So thank you very much for that. I've got a technical question. As I'm reading through the contract and everything, the contract started on January 1, but here we are on February 20th. How'd that happen?
The form was filled out in January, and we got here when this came before council. So the contract hasn't actually been signed yet. That's awaiting your approval.
Okay, I'm just confused as to how we can already have a contract in force, and yet we have not approved it.
That may be an OMB purchasing question.
Yeah, I didn't think you were the person to ask it, but I was putting it out in the air. Okay, thank you very much.
We have Councilwoman Bast.
Thank you. I have two questions. being new to Metro Council and with being my first vote on a sole source contract, can you please explain to me why the item needs to be, has this destination and why it wasn't bid out through more traditional methods? Why is there a sole?
Right. That really comes down to the specific knowledge and expertise that this contract or this consulting firm brings because of their work to produce the Parks for All plan to begin with. That is the basis of the work that we're doing here. So they spent, and I'll let Jane speak to some to their process here, but they spent more than a year working with our department, getting intimately familiar with our operations, our facilities, our amenities, our budget. They did a great deal of community engagement and received a lot of community input. They have gathered up data on our park amenities and our financial past investments and the outlook for our investments going forward. So basically, all the work that they've done is the foundation for them to start at hitting the ground running on this one without having to go back and recreate that knowledge base that another contractor would have to. So that's the specialized and unique knowledge that they bring that another contractor couldn't at this point without spending time and effort and dollars to regain that knowledge.
So is it typical process that we don't allow any other applicants, or it's just because of their knowledge and expertise that we didn't look at any other avenues?
In this particular case, it's just because this was an extension of a project that was already begun by this contractor, and they have that specialized knowledge. Otherwise, the starting point for a contract would be to assume a competitive process. In this case, we'll be a more effective and efficient contract because we're using the contractor that already has the knowledge base.
Okay. My second question was, can you explain where the contract will be focused? I was looking and I didn't see basically, is this to assist with completing or starting other projects? Or will it be that what they're primarily going to be doing? Do they have an area they're focused on? Or will we be looking at other areas than what has typically in the past just looked at those certain areas? Because I feel like certain areas are being looked at and being done, but like, for an example, I haven't seen any of this being done like in the South End. Is that something they're looking at doing or incorporating?
Right, so this contract won't be looking at specific areas or facilities in town. This is really focusing more on the implementation of some programmatic guidelines, like the sponsorship guidelines, the develop of a recreation programming plan that would be enterprise-wide for us. We are including some training material development, data knowledge and transfer into our department. A lot of these are the supporting strategies for us as a department to carry forward with some of the Parks for All plan, but also the types of strategies for budgeting and programming that came out of the plan when it looked at best practices nationwide and what we have here and identified some opportunities for us. So these are not, this plan isn't going to be specific to any park or set of parks or community centers. Rather, it's more about the department's policies and programs and processes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to have a follow-up with Councilwoman Rui. I think someone online had a question to answer that question.
Thank you very much. I've been told Paul Rutherford might be able to answer my question as to a contract that's already been in effect for a month, but we haven't approved it. Can you address that, Mr. Rutherford? We can't hear you. Apparently, it's your mic.
Okay, is this any better?
Much better.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having to hold the laptop next to me. Apologies for that. Again, Paul Rutherford, Assistant Jefferson County Attorney. The thing with the effective date of the contract is that it truly isn't effective legally, ma'am, until the council has passed the resolution approving it and the mayor has signed it. So it says that it's effective earlier than you all are looking at it in case the contractor has done work prior to it being passed by the council and signed by the mayor, they can be paid for that work. So it's a little bit confusing the way the problem is the approval process. Usually it takes a while after the setup is done for the scope to begin, for the signatures to be gotten, and for the matter to be introduced and heard by the council. So that's why sometimes you'll see a contract with an effective date that's actually before the date that you all are taking a look at it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a question, one more question. Just for clarification, the Parks for All is an independent advocacy agency, organization. Why are we as Metro Council, or why is the Parks Department managing the contract instead of simplifying the funds directly to Parks for All?
I would have to redirect that. Parks for All is a plan that was created through the process that was initiated by the Parks Alliance of Louisville, which is a independent nonprofit supporting parks in Louisville. The Parks for All plan, which was developed by the consulting firms I mentioned earlier, was created through a partnership with the Parks and Recreation Department, Parks Alliance, Olmsted Parks Conservancy, and Wilderness Louisville. So this plan was created for the Louisville Parks and Recreation Department. It was not, it's not an external entity itself.
Okay, thank you. And then,
Yes.
sorry, my final question is, will this contract speed up any delayed projects due? Will it help with staffing shortages or any other reason that we have with parks? If the issue is staffing, are we going to be able to hire more staff with this by any chance? And why? Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
This contract won't be hiring staff, but our hope is that this contract will help us implement some of the budgeting strategies and recommendations in the Parks for All plan, which may in the long run help us address more of our maintenance and capital needs over time.
Thank you so much, Director. We have Councilwoman Raymond in the queue.
Hello, Director King. Don't you think that a public roller skating facility in Louisville would be dope?
Totes dope.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dope. Love it. I said that the other day to my kids, by the way. So I think, do we have to do is it a roll call vote or do we? All in favor, we need to do a voice vote on this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The resolution passes.
Thank you.
Goes to consent calendar. Next item on the agenda is a presentation from Solar Street Leaf. I want to clarify that this company specializes in solar lights, but is not the only one in the field. I have informed them that this presentation is meant to be informational, not a sales pitch. If anyone would like to suggest other companies to provide education on this or any other topic relative to this committee, please feel free to do so. And then we would like to introduce Street Leaf. If you could please present your name, your title, and your company. Thank you.
Additionally, I have Brooke Klovinsky, who's also an account manager, Giorgio, who is our head of engineering and photometric planning, as well as Ray Gomez, who is our director of sales.
Thank you. Is there a
Share my presentation and
And for the folks in the chambers, it's on your computer as well.
give me just a second. Sorry for the delay. I'm trying to navigate to get to open the presentation from what I have.
No worries. We're patiently waiting. You patiently waited for us, so thank you.
There we go. New technology is always fun. So what we prepared for you today is just a basic overview of solar street lighting and why this is important for brighter cities, utilizing cleaner energy to make for smarter streets. We do have a portion set aside towards the end of our presentation dedicated to your questions. So if you think of anything, please save those for the end, and we'll be happy to go through those questions to give you a better understanding of solar technology and solar streetlights specifically for municipalities. Why are we even here in the first place talking about the transition from grid-tied electrical streetlights to the transition to a sustainable, clean energy solar solution for street lighting? The problems comprised in a couple different buckets. Communities have an urgent need for a rapid and flexible street light deployment that's not tied to possibly you have areas that are already developed, and so coming in and being able to bring in street lighting that's not dependent on where you can trench or where you can lay conduit to bring street lighting in is a valuable part of being able to implement solar street lighting as a great solution, and is far more cost effective than having to go in and lay those trenches and lay conduit. Traditional street lights are reliant on a significant maintenance liability. When those street lights go down, you're waiting either on a third party to come out and repair those, or the utility to come out and repair them. Different areas notice different time delays in getting those street lights back on the grid and back functional. In some cases, we've seen that from weeks to months at a time. And as you know, when those street lights are down, it makes it difficult for your emergency response crews to effectively deploy into areas to maintain safe areas. Again, high safety risks where there's unreliable lighting, where there may be aging infrastructure, and then the high energy consumption and reliance on fossil fuel energy contradicts with your sustainability goals. So what if there was a street lighting solution for communities that was 8 times faster on installation time, stays on when the power goes off, and is 100% clean energy? And that is the solution that we solved for here at StreetLeaf, utilizing solar technology to provide well-lit, safe streets. All of our photometric plans are IES compliant and ensure safe lighting levels. IES is an electrical society that provides a measurement for what is safe for the application use. Secondly, our installation time is roughly 15 minutes per street light. Again, that's no trenching, no conduit, and so that allows for a quick deployment and installation that prevents long-term delays in getting areas lit. Reliability. We are 100% renewable solar power. So what that means, we're not tied to the grid. Our system is powered by the sun. That's then stored to a battery encased in the system. And that is what powers the light through the evening. What is the impact of utilization of a resilient and clean energy like solar street lighting? Annually, each solar light saves roughly 300 pounds of coal and offsets 550 pounds of CO2, is certified carbon neutral and dark sky approved. A little bit more about Street Leaf and our system. We are, again, 100% solar powered, which means zero trenching, zero conduit, and that eliminates the cost of costly infrastructure. This makes Street Leaf a cost-effective option compared to standard utility grid-tied options and quick, efficient deployment of systems within 15 minutes. So big question, how does it work? All of our systems are, it's an aluminum pole, direct burial. Typically, you have the ability to do a concrete base in areas where direct burial would not be an option for you. In general, the way that the street light operates is your high efficiency solar panel absorbs UV rays that is converted into energy and stored to a lithium ion phosphate battery. A lithium ion phosphate battery is a very solid state battery, safe for this particular application use, and is very reliable. It's what powers the street light through the night. Your LED light head, so we're using the latest LED technology to power our street lights. There is a smart control node on the system. This is what connects our systems into a mesh network that allows us to remotely monitor our systems. So all we require is cell tower connectivity. We utilize a SIM card, the same as what's in your cell phone. It connects a project area into a mesh network, allows us to communicate back and forth. We're able to remotely monitor, make adjustments towards efficiency of the system, and do some preventative maintenance through that remote control. Additionally, all of our lights are dimmable. Typically, we see that utilized in evening hours where there's not a whole lot of activity. You'll want to maybe dim down the lights during a certain time to allow for a lower output of lighting to preserve your nighttime sky, or in residential areas where you may not want that full brightness. And then as motion is detected underneath the street light, it will power it back up to full capacity. And then as that motion passes through, it's going to dim back down and give you some light pollution savings there.
And one question that we typically get when we go over this overview is what happens on cloudy days. Maybe you can dive a little bit into that, Diana.
Yeah, of course. So on super cloudy days, we're still, the solar panel still is receiving UV. We don't necessarily need direct sunlight. We just need for sun to be present. So it's not charging at the same velocity as a full, bright, sunny day, but a charge is still going to the battery. And again, another feature that ties back into our remote monitoring capability. If we have some data collection tied into our system that monitors for the weather, and so if we see that there is going to be a storm system, like for instance, a tropical storm over an area that's going to last for 3, 4, 5 days, and there's going to be extreme cloudiness through that time period, we know that we're going to look at our system, put our systems into what we call a storm watch mode, which essentially reduces the output of the light to extend the life of the battery, which is a great segue into talking about the life of our battery. Each battery at full charge has enough charge to power the light for up to 5 days, and then we're able to extend that by reducing the output of the light to get you through whatever storm you might or extreme weather you're encountering during that time. And then once we're back to our normal sunny weather, we're able to put it back into normal operational mode. And then our next feature that we like to talk about is our remote monitoring dashboard. And since I have Giorgio from our engineering team, I'll let him speak a little bit on this. This falls into his wheelhouse.
This is a simple dashboard that we provide some of our clients or community managers or something. There is a quick map of the street lights. This map was for a park. That's why you just see a bunch of forest as a background. But each dot represents a pole. There's a total of 23 poles, and it gives you quick stats on what the lights are doing. At this point, it seems like they were charging at 1.5 amps per hour, and it had about 71% charge total. And it gives you a quick overview of the weather, so that you can tell, hey, my lights look a little dim, or something looks weird. What's going on? Or the battery hasn't charged fully today. What's going on? You have your answer right there. It's probably because of the weather.
And then just some more facts on solar street lights and the impact of solar street lighting that for what we have installed for Street Leaf. We have more than 8,600 lights currently in operation in our fleet. We are the largest provider of solar street lights in the United States. That has equated to 3.6 million pounds of carbon that's been offset, and $32 million saved on infrastructure costs, because we're not digging trenches, we're not laying conduit. And with that, that kind of wraps up our very high level overview. We would love to hear your questions, any kind of feedback you have for us, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the presentation. It was great. I have a question, and I think we covered it a little bit, but just want to make sure we're clear on it. Will the monitoring indicate any outages, power outages, or anything that can occur?
Yeah, so the dashboard that we provide obviously relies off of our data. So if there's a power outage in your community, our dashboard won't report that. But our dashboard will report any outages of a street light. So if a street light is not connected to the cell towers for some communication issue, it'll let you know, hey, the light is not communicating properly, but it's still performing well. If there's an issue with the light not turning on, it'll also detect that and let you know as well.
Thank you so much. Let me see if there's anybody in the queue here. Sorry. Got to get back on the page.
And just to add on to what Giorgio said, another feature that we've built into our system is that we have a QR code on each one of our poles. So if you're walking by a street light and you see some issue with that street pole, you would be able to pull out your cell phone, snap a picture of that QR code. It would immediately deploy a support ticket for us to begin looking into what issue is going on. It would transmit all of the data for that pole, so we know exactly where to look in at.
How long have you all been in business?
We have been in business since 2019.
Wonderful. I'm going to pass a question to Vice Chair, Councilwoman Betsy Rui.
Thank you very much. I've got several questions. First of all, regarding the auto dimming and brightening, I would assume these, since they're in a network, they're talking to one another. So if cars coming down the road, it brightens here and then brightens here, and so it's brightening ahead of it. Is that correct?
I'll let Giorgio take that question.
So not at the moment. We do have something in the works that's called, it's a new sensor. It has a little bit more sophisticated technology, but the current system that we have is a little bit dumber than that. So it just reacts individually to each light. So if you walk down a light, it'll brighten up for that light only, and the neighboring lights won't brighten necessarily unless you walk under those.
How fast is the reaction time then?
Immediate. And we can program that to have a delay or not. I've never seen a reason to delay the reaction time of a light, but we can also program how long it'll stay on. So we typically leave it on for 30 seconds and then it'll dim back, but it could change that to make it an hour or 20 minutes or 10 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, how long does it take the battery to charge? So if it's been 5 days, it's cloudy, it's ugly, and the battery's run down, how long does it take for it to recharge?
It depends what day of the year it is. If it's in winter and the sun is low in the sky, it can take up to an hour or two longer, but traditionally speaking, between 3 and 4 hours is enough to fully charge a battery.
Okay, and then what's the lifespan of one of these units?
That's a great question. So, of the components of the streetlight, the battery has a recommended replacement at year 8. The LED light fixture is recommended to be replaced at year 10, and then the solar panel is rated beyond 25 years.
Okay, and one last question. We all know streetlights get hit by cars. I know the pole's going to have to be replaced. Are these things durable enough that we might still be able to salvage something when we have to put them back up?
I have not seen that being the case unless it was peculiar to that situation. So the light fell and the panel happened to fall on a bush. The panel happened to be fine, but that's not a guarantee, obviously, in every moment in place.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilwoman Bast.
Thank you. Betsy actually asked my first question. So with the batteries lasting 8 years, I know a lithium battery can take hundreds of years to decompose. They can also cause environmental contamination. They can explode. They can cause fires. So what is your plan for that when the 8 years comes up and we have to dispose of these batteries? Where will that, do you have a plan for that, or can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so lithium batteries have this bad rap of exploding and catching fires because like 4 or 5 years ago, those scooter batteries were under extreme pressure during travel times. And a couple of incidents occurred, and they are serious and can be something challenging to deal with. But since then, we have had some progress, and our batteries don't have the same architecture that the batteries that used to explode and catch on fire do. They're the same chemistry, I'm not going to lie there, but the architecture is different. Much like the architecture of a battery for a car or a scooter is different to a light, for the same reason that a car needs to go very fast, very quickly, and output a lot of energy very quickly. Scooter is very similar, just in a smaller size. A street light, by and large, is pushing about the same amount of energy every day, just needs to do it every day for a long period of time. So the architecture being that different allows it to be safer and more secure. I've been with the company 4.5 years. I've never seen a battery explode or catch on fire. I've seen batteries fall by being hit by cars. I've seen batteries have manufacturing issues. We caught them at the manufacturing site before they were being deployed. But none of them had a hazardous effect in terms of explosion and fire. Now, when it comes to recycling batteries, it's definitely a challenge everywhere. It's not only for us. Any street light that has a battery technology will have this issue. But at year 8, we recommend the class of being changing it. If you go through us, we will provide a new battery and take the old one back and make sure it's disposed appropriately.
So where is the plan to dispose of those? Will it be here, or will they be shipped somewhere?
Traditionally, the manufacturer reappropriates the battery and recycles them themselves. That's what we've been doing for the past few years. But given 8 year span, such a long relationship, such a long time, we can't guarantee that type of relationship. So we might have a different solution. For now, we would still use the manufacturer, and they have the technology and ability to repurchase in a sense in some cases, or just recycle the battery completely. If not, we'll have to go with someone local.
Okay, so I do know the process is complex, and do we look at future, this being costly for the advanced technology and the infrastructure of it? Will the maintenance of it be easy to maintain going forward?
Yeah, so I actually handle a lot of the maintenance issues. I don't personally go in the bucket truck and fixing them or anything like that, but I oversee that department as well here in Florida. And I mean, outside of issues that come about due to environmental concerns like hurricanes that hit our lights and something crazy happens to them, we haven't had that many concerns for repairs. Our turnaround time is usually 7 days or less to completely fix the light, to visit it and make sure everything is okay and safe. It's usually a 2 day response time. Having no conduit, no trenching like that means that you don't need skilled labor to actually handle this material and lights. Anyone that knows how to use a screwdriver can probably install one of these lights. It's very much not that complex. The only difficulty is that it's 20 feet in the air. So compared to traditional street light, it's a lot cheaper to fix because you don't need a master electrician that can go down there, turn off 240 volt power, handle a street light, and then go back. For us, it's just, here's a new part, go up there and swap it out. And that's it.
Okay, one last question. You had mentioned it would be very cost effective for, say, residents. For an example, like I pay for a street light on my street, and it's $12 extra a month on my bill. Do we expect that to be a lower cost for people to pay for safety for their neighborhoods?
It would purely determine on what the city and how the city intends to move forward with purchasing the light. Are they purchasing outright, directly purchasing that you own it, and then it's fully your responsibility? Again, once you purchase a solar street light, it's installed. The cost is all in that one purchase item, and then there's no recurring bill once it's been purchased and installed. There's no ongoing electrical bill. We also offer an option that a lot of people like to utilize, which is a service agreement. In that service agreement, that cost, it would include we would own the street light. You would simply be paying for the service of the street light, similar to what utilities do. And then we are responsible for the replacement of those serviceable parts on those schedules, and then any ongoing maintenance with the system. So if there were some kind of issue with the system, we would be responsible for responding to that. We would also be responsible for replacing the battery, for replacing the fixture, and replacing the solar panel on the term of that service agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bast. I have a question in regards to, do you have any studies or statistics on crime reduction in communities that you've used these solar panel lights?
Yeah, I mean, we've had no instances of any type of vandalism or theft on our installed systems. There's nothing in the system to steal of value. It's not like there's no copper wiring in it, so we have not experienced any type of vandalism in our projects.
Thank you. Vice Chair Rui.
Thank you. Could you please explain for us what dark sky compliant means?
Absolutely. So dark sky is a certification of products that significantly reduce light pollution and adheres to some AMA health standards for healthier sleep patterns and not having excessive light pollution. You're able to see the night sky, where it's believed to not disrupt your circadian rhythm when there's a lot of excessive light in the evening.
To add to that a little bit, So Dark Sky is is a nonprofit organization that recognizes products that are safe for the environment and animals and wildlife mainly, as well as health benefits for humans. But the main definition of dark sky compliant street lighting is basically if you have a fixture, and you can imagine my arm being a fixture, all the light coming from the fixture either goes down or 80% incline. At no point it goes up. So a traditional street light, like you have a lamp with a torch on the sky, the lamp shines light outwards, that is not dark sky compliant.
Councilwoman Marilyn Parker.
Thank you. You guys mentioned that the street lights depend on cell towers to operate. So I guess I had a couple questions regarding that. If a cell tower goes down, does the street light become inoperable until the cell tower is fixed?
Good question. No, so what we mean by cell tower and the dependency of cell tower is the communication of the street lights with our system. So the dashboard that you guys seen an example of earlier is showing 23 lights are connected and working in this park. So that works and is updated due to the cell tower. We can also update and change the programming of the street light. Say you want a more aggressive lighting because it's 4th of July and people are throwing a lot of fireworks around, there's a lot of smoke. Maybe we want a little bit stronger lights. We can do that. We need the lights to be connected to the internet in order to do that. If the lights are not connected to the internet, they still operate based on their last update. That the operation of the street light is purely based on how much sunlight is the panel getting. So the panel acts as a giant photocell, and when it detects that it's no longer getting sunlight because the sun set, it says, oh, it's nighttime, and it just turns on, and it tries to remember the last updated program it has and uses that.
So did I hear you say that, say you're in an area where there is no cell tower, that the lights will still work?
Yes. In order to program the lights and change the programming of the lights, we need to go in person and visit them. But the lights will operate regardless of it being connected to the internet or not.
Okay, and one other question. What is the cost of installation of a solar light versus a standard street light, and the cost of servicing each one of those, the comparison?
I do not have the utility servicing rates, just because it varies from location to location, depending on like what's the cost to run conduit, what's the cost of trenching is very different based on geography and soil stratigraphy. For us, our average installation cost per street light is roughly $550 per street light.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
It's good enough. Thank you.
Okay.
I have nobody else in the queue. I want to thank you all for your presentation, and we look forward to hearing more about your business and other businesses like yours, and as we progress to sustainability in Louisville and move forward towards something. So we'll be in contact. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you. With no other business on the agenda, we are adjourned.